What is up, folks? This is the video that will be out of date in the fastest amount of time I've probably ever made on this channel, although that's maybe up for debate based on some of these dark and darker videos. But this one for sure, because the wipe is tomorrow, and as you can tell by the title, we're going to make some predictions. This video is going to be all about, just off the cuff, what I think is going to happen to basically classes. We're going to talk about classes almost exclusively in this video, so we're not going to dally too long. I have this tendency to ramble despite preparation, so let's get right into it. We're going to start with my beloved Ranger, and we will also start by saying this is a lot of my predictions here. The reason I wanted to do this video is because I've been getting a lot of shit right. And being the narcissistic asshole that I am, I love letting people know about it. So here we are making it official by making this video. And then when I am right, I can point at it and do the Leonardo DiCaprio thing. Oh, look, see, I was right. So that's it. Anyway, for real though, I think I have a good grasp of what Iron Mace tends to do, and I've been on the money quite a bit. So we're going to talk about what I think is going to happen, and maybe it'll give you some insight and maybe some chance to plan ahead for the wipe tomorrow. Keep in mind, as far as I'm aware, this is a stash wipe, not a character wipe. So all your characters will still be as leveled as they are. But yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about the classes first at the very end, and I'll timestamp it below. You can click to wherever you want to go, what class. You should see that in the description or in the top pinned comment. We'll talk about some overall game changes that I think are going to happen too. But let's start with Ranger. The number one change I think we're going to see with Ranger is obviously damage nerfs. I think we're going to see damage nerfs across the board. And also very possibly just rescaling of pretty much every level of weapon and item. So you'll see some damage nerfs pretty much on every weapon type. So we're gonna like kind of get that out of the way. Like, you're not gonna see longbows doing as much damage. You're gonna see your fists doing less damage. That's not really a class thing. But again, knowing that the Rondel dagger, where it is right now, is less damage than your fists, tells me that pretty much everything's gonna get damage nerfed. So get ready for that. That's gonna be exciting. But in terms of Ranger's perks and abilities, I think what we're gonna see is triple shot take a bit of a hit. It's officially called quick shot. It's the triple shot. We all know it as triple shot because it's that triple shot. You're either gonna see a perhaps an aim penalty. Iron Mace tends to get clever with their nerfs, so I'm not entirely sure what they're gonna do here. But you're either going to see a reduction in the damage per arrow, probably a damage modifier, like you do 80% of your arrow damage or something to that effect, or that your triple shot will be slower. You might even see triple shot not get affected by quick fire. I think that's going to punish people who are specifically taking a perk to benefit another perk in like a kind of punishing way, not taking snack or pen shot or even sometimes multi-shot. But I think you'll see some nerf to triple shot. I think that's the big one. And you know what? Hot take, believe it or not, I think the spears are getting left alone. I think they're not getting touched. In terms of buffs, and I want to cover nerfs and buffs for each class, I don't think we'll see a lot with Ranger, given that it's like it's the black sheep of the dark and darker community right now. The rogues took the hit, now it's Ranger's turn. Even though I honestly think they're in a decently good place, but you see a lot of other classes benefiting from crossbow stuff. I think crossbows are going to take a bit of a heavier nerf than most other things. In fact, I think you might see their armor pen get taken away, or their base damage get taken even further away than the other stuff. So we'll see about that. Not entirely sure, but here's my bold prediction with Ranger. I think we'll see either chase or enhanced hearing. One of these more utility style perks get completely reworked and maybe buffed significantly to change playstyle. That's where I'm at with Ranger. Let's keep it moving here. We'll drop into Warlock here. Now Warlock, this is a big one, and this is one where I don't necessarily have any specific predictions. This one is just, I think Warlock's gonna look entirely different come this patch. It's going to be so interesting to look at this class, because this is the youngest class. This is the one we've had the least amount of time, or is it Bard? No, it's Warlock. This is the class we've had the least amount of time to play with, and we've essentially had half Warlock. You look at all the other spellcasters, how many perks they have, how many spells they have. We're gonna see a lot more spells for Warlock, and Iron Mace has teased summoning. That's kind of a Warlock thing. I think we're going to see stuff like maybe a Hellish Rebuke, and that's going to be my official bold prediction. I think we're going to have a spell Warlock can cast on it, himself or his allies to essentially deal a bunch of damage back to a enemy. Now, I know what you're thinking if you know your Warlock well. Where is it? Dark Reflection is kind of the same. I'm thinking Hellish Rebuke is going to be potentially, or a spell, you know, that is effectively Hellish Rebuke. Shout out D&D players, you know what I'm talking about. You'll take a sizable amount of damage for hitting this person, and it probably won't last a long time, and you'll see a very big aura on the character. That would absolutely be where I would go with the Warlock. Now, given Warlock's ability to use just a million things, Blow of Corruption might be getting a nerf. And I think you'll see Blow of Corruption actually get the Achilles Strike treatment. I think Blow of Corruption could very possibly be getting the utility tag, and you might lose out on some damage. I think Blow of Corruption is going to have its damage reduced, and we might see that like the healing rate is reduced even more. We might see even like another debuff. Who knows? But I think essentially what's going to happen is Blow of Corruption is going to get the Achilles Strike treatment, become more of a utility and less of a damage steroid. But Warlock's going to be really interesting. I'm really excited for Warlock. If you play Warlock, look forward to it, because I think things are going to be interesting. Cleric. Now, Cleric's an interesting one. Cleric is in arguably a pretty fine place. Cleric's one of these classes that I don't think is going to get a heck of a lot of changes. And honestly, like, if I had to force myself to make some predictions here, I think what we're going to see is maybe... God, I can't force myself into making predictions about this class. I think Cleric's going to be generally left alone, aside from generic weapon nerfs. The War Maul, if you want to call this a Cleric nerf, might cap some nerfage, but honestly, despite its buffs and despite how strong it is, you're not seeing a whole lot of War Mauls being used, so it's probably going to get left alone. It's very possible that we get some more perks or skills. I don't know. It's again, I think Cleric is actually in a really good place. Sorry to everyone who thinks Clerics are OP, but honestly, I think Cleric's getting left alone for the most part. Moving right along to our favorite nerfed out of oblivion, thank God they're gone class Rogues. Now, I've talked about this a lot, and I want to touch on this really quickly. Give Iron Mace time to nerf this class. They have dug themselves such a deep hole. You see how many freaking perks this man has? It's way more than any other class. It's got basically, I think maybe the most skills as well total. I could be wrong with that. It might be tied for most skills or just shy of the lead. And this class is able to do things that no other class is able to do. We've got stealth. We've got double jump. We've got lock picking. There's all these things that the rogue is able to do that are just completely out of the kit of every other class. And then they're like, hey, also have ranged weapons. Hey, also be, where's Jokester? Hey, also be just an AoE party buff. Hey, like, it's crazy. It's actually crazy what this class can do. And truly, folks, I think that Rogue is going to be left, for the most part, alone. I think Weak Point is going to stay where it is. I think they're going to keep the damage away from Weak Point. When they bring everybody else's weapon damage down and bring it in line with the Rogue, I think you'll see Weak Point is going to feel okay, actually. And I think you're going to see Rogues, instead of being these, like, stealthy solo classes, you're going to see them being used as utility in fights in, like, 3s and 2s. Have a tanky guy, you can have a weak point, get in there, get out. You're going to see this class be developed into a, like, get in, get out, which essentially already is. Pretty hard to not be able to do that if you're playing smart. But you're not going to see this, like, War of Attrition rogue. You're going to see the, like, the get in, get out, and just cause chaos, but not actually get kills. You're just going to sow dissent in the enemy's backline and then get the fuck out of there. And in a lot of cases, if you're, like, jumping a ranger, you won't have to get out of there. So that'll be interesting. I think Rogue, honestly, despite all the hate mail I've received, talking about Rogue buffs in Twitch chat, I think Rogue is actually going to be in an okay place and played more like Iron Mace wants it to be played in this next coming patch. Wizard! Hello, Wizard. You are the talk of the town as well. Arguably the most skilled class is kind of what people give Wizard. What do we think is going to happen with Wizard? Wizard got the, like, Rogue treatment before the Rogue got the Rogue treatment. Pretty serious nerfs that were then backed off a little bit. Wizard, man. I'd love to see some new spells for Wizard. I'm hopeful. That's like my big hope, is that we can see some, maybe a little bit more added to this. That's really risky, of course. The more you add, the more balance. That it's that constant work of balancing things that, like, if you nerf one thing, you know, it's Iron Mace has a very difficult job, and it's part of the reason Rogue is so difficult to balance, because they've given it so much that is just so crazy. To have to balance it around everybody else is really difficult. So I would love to see some new spells for Wizard. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Wizard, much like Cleric, is in a very good place. But if I had to guess, I think we might see Invisibility and Haste. And this is what I would do. I don't actually think this is going to happen, I'm going to be honest. But I would love to see these spells specifically have reduced effects for self-targeting and increased effects, or excuse me, the reverse. Increased effects for self-targeting and decreased effects for targeting it to an ally. And I think that should go for Ignite as well. If you cast it on yourself, I think it should have basically more efficacy if you cast it on yourself. And I think if you're buffing that Barbarian to avoid Death Ball comps, just nerf it when you cast it on other people. But from where they're at right now, give it a buff when you self-cast. Help those solo wizards out. If you've ever played Wizard, you know that PvE is just horrible. It's just miserable. It's not fun at all. In fact, if you watch most wizards who go into High Roller and stuff like that, they use Invis as a, like, I don't want to fight things. Like, just be aggro, get me out of here. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. That's honestly, I think, about the only thing we're going to get. I think Clarity Potions might be getting a bit of a change, but that's kind of a talk for later. But we'll see. I think Wizard is, honestly, mostly getting left alone, but hopefully we're getting a couple changes. And by the way, I totally know that I said I'd be doing like a nerf and buff for every class. It's not happening, guys. I wanted to do it, but honestly, there's those couple of classes that I'm just like, you know what? It's too hard. Fighter. Hi, Fighter. You have the most skills of any class, apparently. Here's what's going to happen with Fighter. Second Wind is going to get, I think, nerfed. I think Second Wind is far too strong. And certainly, let me be clear, certainly changes the, like, fight landscape. Like, in a 1v1, I'll take a fighter almost every time. There's very few exceptions to this rule. Because nothing is disrupted when you use Second Wind. So here's what I want to change about Second Wind. This is the nerf that I think should come. And again, I don't think necessarily Iron Mace is going to do this, but that's not the point of this video. I should be predicting. But here's what I would do with Second Wind. Maybe we should change it. What I would do to the game. No. Anyway, let's make it a prediction. Let's double down. I think they're going to change Second Wind, and I think they're going to make it so that if you deal damage to a fighter who is Second Winding, Second Wind stops. Simple enough. I think that is, like, just do that, and Fighter is in a much better place balance-wise, especially in solos. And I do apologize, most of my commentary, because my friends have deserted me, and they're not playing as much Dark and Darker anymore. Fucking rogues. I blame the rogues. It's not the rogues' fault. But I've been playing a lot of solos, and fighters, they're tough to deal with, man. So, especially when they pop Second Wind, it's like, I can't fight you anymore. War of Attrition, you're just not going to win against a fighter. You're definitely not going to win it against a Cleric. So yeah, I think it's going to get the Nerf Hammer, but it's going to get the Nerf Hammer in a way that's, you know, kind of fair. Make it an out-of-combat heal and not I can run into the zone and just sit there for an eternity. And then there's a couple of these, skills in here that I think we could see maybe coming into the forefront. I'd love to see this, like, block meta fighter kind of reestablish itself. I don't think anybody does it, but there's a lot of really cool options. For example, if you run Shield Mastery on fighter with a buckler, you run Barricade as well, and then you also have Perfect Block, it's really, really good. And then you've got Shield Slam. You can actually walk faster with a buckler held up and these perks than you would normally. And if you have, like, move speed benefits on things, that is, like, even better. So I think we'll see speedy fighters, and that's in regard to both the blocking with buckler and the dual wielding fighters. I think they're going to make a resurgence, and I think Iron Mace might have something to do with it. I think we might see a buff to dual wield. I think we might see a buff to maybe, like, what it means to have two weapons. In regards to just playstyle, I think meta shift is really going to benefit fighter in this upcoming patch. So that'll be interesting. And especially if you make the Ranger weaker, which, again, I'm very much expecting. Running a shield on some of these classes is it's devalued to a big extent. Pretty much, you watch fighters, bards even with shields, they're not blocking swords they're blocking arrows for the most part. So I think that's what's going to happen with Fighter. I think you're just going to see a big meta shift, and I think Iron Mace is going to play a role in that by potentially nerfing Second Wind and maybe buffing some of these shield skills. Because let's be honest, I honestly don't think we see a lot of that, and I think in terms of a meta shift, it would be really interesting. Barbarian. Talk about Barbarian. A lot of perks as well. Not as many as Rogue, but he's got a lot. Barb's in a pretty good place as well, quite honestly. Although, given that Iron Mace is across the board going to, in my opinion, reduce weapon damage, I think Barb is going to cop a pretty serious health nerf. If not, like, a default, like, armor reduction. I don't know. One way or the other, Barbarian cannot get away with having 150 health in this upcoming meta, and if it does, here's my prediction about this wipe. Barb will be incredibly strong if that does not happen. So that's going to be very, very interesting. I think stuff like, let me try to see if I can find it here. Iron Will, anything that tanks up your Barbarian is going to be, yeah, robust. All these sorts of skills are, they're going to be really strong. They're going to be really strong. Does anyone use Life Siphon, by the way? Is anybody using this skill? I think it ought to be really good. Like, +4 all is pretty great. But I don't think anyone uses it. I feel like in trios, though, it's probably better than... I mean, potentially better than Rage? I mean, Strength by 15 is a lot, though. Is it better than Reckless Attack? I don't know. It's so tough. I would expect, honestly, one of these two skills, either Rage or Reckless Attack, to get nerfed to maybe open up the door for some of these, like, other interesting skills. Who knows? Blood Exchange is also a very interesting skill in terms of, like, trading 1v1. I think there's a lot of stuff in here that, quite honestly, like, it's just the meta. It's just players don't use them. But that's what I expect from Barbarian. I think we're going to see a bit of nerf to his health and maybe his healing in general. But I think for the most part, he's going to get left alone too. He's in a pretty good spot. What do we got left here? Oops. We might have to go into the, just like talking about classes from here. Bard! Hello, Bard. What are we going to see from Bard? Drum nerf. Again, I know. Crazy. But I think Bard may look completely different as well. As much as we've, like, become accustomed to the Bard meta at this point, I think Bard is going to kind of get a Warlock treatment. You're gonna see some big changes to Bard, I think, and it's either going to be in functionally how the duration of the buffs are applied on spells, or alternatively, I think you'll see spellcasting get slowed down, or rather song playing. Song playing may become, like, way longer. And we might, as a result, actually see the buffs last longer. But just right now, in my opinion, Bard's ability to buff his team, like, completely is still crazy. It does not take a lot of time, and the fact that you can loop buffs, just fucking loop them, and it doesn't matter. And again, you'll see good Bards do not care about the full duration of their spells, because it's actually not worth it. It's more efficient to fuck up the songs and have them finish early and get the middle duration for those spells. And those buffs. So this will be interesting. I don't truly know what we're gonna, like, what to expect with Bard, but I do think we're gonna see a change, and I do think it's going to be related to how quickly and how efficiently Bards can buff themselves and their whole team. And I do think a drum nerf is in the works. The throwing meta of like a strong Bard is just, like, way too good. When you can use a crossbow to, like, start off and then throw drums at people, which is, like, still the most hilarious thing. I'm torn between them taking it out because it's, like, clearly overpowered, but also leaving it in because it's just so freaking goofy. Yeah, I don't know. Either way, I think a Bard change in that regard is coming, and it'll be interesting to see. Finally, I really would like Druid to come out. I can't click Druid as much as I'd like to. But given that Iron Mace teased summoning, does it mean that we are going to see Druid put into the game? And does it mean Druid is going to summon things, which is very much in a Druid's wheelhouse? Again, we're looking at Dungeons and Dragons. We're looking at what Druids can do in Dungeons and Dragons. I want it to be like Wild Shape Druid. I want to turn into a fucking hell dog and fucking run at people, because that sounds incredible. That sounds so cool. Imagine like all of a sudden your POV shrinks down and you're like at ground level and you can go bite people. Like that would be sick. Um, or you turn into a fucking bear. Like just that would be so fucking cool. I think that'd be awesome. My nose is leaking. I apologize. I'm a snotty fella, as if you couldn't already tell from the nasally voice. Ugh, gross. Anyway, I want Druid to be in the game so badly, but we'll see. Let's talk about some overall game changes really quickly. So I'm gonna hop onto my let's see, who do I want to hop onto? I guess we'll hop onto my like All Ranger while we talk about this. So number one, here's something that I would love to see the game do. I think more things should benefit from Potion of Clarity. Now, this may be a slippery slope, but in regards to nerfs that may occur, for example, the Rogue's Hide skill, I think Hide is going to, and we didn't mention this before because I'm a little scatterbrained, but I think Hide is going to get rebuffed as well. But I think it's going to, it's rebalanced as a whole. It's going to get buffed as in it's going to last for longer, but, and this is important, but I do think they're going to limit the number of uses of Hide, and having it regen on Potions of Clarity or when you're at a campfire would actually be like a reasonable change. Listen, Arcane Trickster is a thing. Hide might as well be called a spell. I wouldn't hate it if it was called a spell. There's a lot of people who I've brought this up to in Twitch chats who can't seem to wrap their head around the idea, rogues don't spell cast, they can't take a spell book or a, you don't, listen, it can still be, it can still be an ability. Cleric has spells that are used as abilities, right? Just really quickly, just to prove my point here quickly. Perk and skill, where is it? Judgment. This is a fucking spell. Yes, it is an ability, but this spell, the spell, says it right there, it's a spell. But it is an ability. It is a skill, I should say. So, I would love to see Bard, or excuse me, Rogue, be given Hide. You can have your Hide back. Give him his 60 seconds at like max will or whatever it was. And then actually have limited resources, so let him use it twice. I think twice is perfectly reasonable. The fact that you could use it like every 30 seconds is like kind of crazy. But let him use it twice, but make it scale, make him have to use Potions of Clarity. That might be a slippery slope, but I think because rogues are so mad, and it'll actually kind of get rid of these default rogues, this is the issue. You're looking at him right here. Default rogue with Blue Dagger, he was the problem. Get rid of that, and I think we're going to be fine. But I would love to see that happen. I'd love to see that happen. Now, let's talk about some overall game changes in that same realm. I think, again, a Clarity Potion change. I think we might see more things apply to Clarity Potions. I think it's really possible, really, really possible, that we see the tech trees finally being released in this patch. And if that's the case, get hyped. Now, given what has been leaked so far, I'm losing hope by the day that we're going to get tech trees. I just don't think it's going to happen. I'd love to see it happen. I just don't think it's going to happen. Because I think it would have been teased by now. I think Iron Mace loves telling One Peg what is coming. And unless for some reason they've decided to be a little coy about the tech trees coming out, I don't think we're going to get tech trees. I think we're getting the Warlock summoning, and that's the big shiny thing. But I think we're inching ever so close to this. The other big change that I actually do think is going to come into the game, I think we might actually finally see quests. And that's actually really exciting. I think finally those items we're finding in game, mimic teeth, skulls, bowstrings, all that stuff, we're going to finally see a Tarkov-like quest system at its base. I don't think we're going to see like totally fleshed out, like, you know, dozens and dozens of quests in order to like increase favor with these guys. There is a favor meter, it has to be said, and it's like baked in, like we have it, like that little symbol right there, it's got to go up and down, right? Like it has, that something's got to give. But I don't think we're gonna actually see its application just yet. But I think we're gonna get quests. I think quests are gonna be a thing, and I'm excited for that because right now the game is verging on getting stale for some folks. I would say me as well. Because right now the things I want to do are like take on high roller bosses, and I just don't have It's hard to get a team together, man. It's really hard. So you know, a bit of motivation to continue playing other than just like amassing wealth would be great. Not that I have been doing a great job of that lately, because when they increased the high roller fee, I went a little hard, and now I've got 4 gold. And obviously if I like took, you know, 7 hours to sell a bunch of stuff, I would have a bunch of money, but you know, who wants to do that? Anyway, at some point I got to deal with this legendary stuff. I want to take this out and one-shot one guy and then die. But I think that'll be really interesting moving forward if we get quests, because that'll be fun. That was totally just YouTuber brain. I think that'll be interesting moving forward. What was I talking about? Anyway, hopefully those are some decent predictions for you. This is a crazy long video. Oh my god, I've been rambling for 25 minutes. That's wild. I'm going to get this uploaded. I'm not going to put a thumbnail up because I got a busy day ahead of me, but wanted to get this in really quickly. Just so, you know, there was proof that I thought some things were going to happen. And honestly, because I forced myself to make some predictions that are probably not going to happen, you're going to see me be more wrong than right. And you can make fun of me in the comments for that. But either way, leave me with a prediction in the comments. If you've made it this far, you're an absolute legend. Thank you for watching the whole video. I know I've been like, I haven't been talking about this a lot, but my return to streaming is on the horizon. I'm still working through some stuff in the room right now. You know, we gotta have 4 lines banging all night, get pucks in deep. But it's coming soon, guys. It's coming soon. I miss streaming quite a bit. And yeah, we'll be back soon. But there's a couple things I gotta take care of in regards to the stream and in regards to the old noggin. So keep that in mind. Either way, thanks for hanging. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging. It's more of a stream thing. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you. Drop a like if you like the video. That's always really helpful and makes me feel good about myself. That's pretty much it. I'm not worried about the algorithm. Make me feel good. Drop a like. Make me feel happy. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. See you in the dungeon. Should be an interesting patch coming forward. I'm excited to see what it brings, and I think some of these things are going to be really, really cool. Especially this like overall increase to time to kill. Anyway, I've said enough. Get out of here.